Hi, I'm Josh, and my topic for my literature review is regarding sleep curtailment and obesity. I'm going to be going over two empirical sources used in my review, and I'll be covering a broad overview of the questions studied, the types of study design, and other elements that are present in the articles. Being in this battling bad science assessment, I'll go over a couple different things, but let me go ahead and just get started with the first study. This I would classify as the higher quality study from the assignment, Jaron et al., 2013. This identifies that there very well could be other factors that correlate to obesity and specifically to childhood obesity. The investigators decide to use a form of observation study. Since this involves children and adolescents as well as their parents, it's important to note that most of the study actually required self-reporting of biometric measurements. With the data that they gathered, one of the study's significant findings is that other subjective factors more precisely identify the negative relationship between obesity and sleep. Sleep being the quality of sleep or the curtailment of sleep, just different things that affect sleep. The study shows adequate internal validity. It functions well with self-reporting. The size of the sample does lend credence to the effectiveness of the study, thus showing that it does indeed have internal validity. In regards to external validity, this study can be broadly applied to a general population. Because of its population mean age of 12.6 years, it is difficult to say that the external validity of the study is applicable to a broader aged population, but because it is so broad in its findings, it can be applied. Van Goetz's, on the other hand, I would consider it the lesser quality study, though by no means does it invalidate the study. It tries to identify the true relationship between sleep and obesity. The study seeks to find a more specific sleep-related correlation. And what I mean by that is it wants to find exactly what is affecting the sleep. Now, this particular study is a longitudinal and population-based study. It actually found that obesity was 15% more prominent in women who reported sleep disturbances or stress or emotional distress. This study has internal validity that edifies the study. Because of their two-phase selection of participants, it is more credible that the study was successful, thus the internal validity. Now, the external validity of the study is a little questionable. The study focuses on a very specific cohort at Penn State. Now, saying that this can be applied to other populations would be a stretch because not all populations are like the cohort at Penn State. And so it's a little questionable as to whether this external validity would be applicable in other instances, which makes me question the article a little bit. Now, what I went ahead and did is I kind of noticed the difference in gender distribution in each of the articles, and you'll see that the differences in male and female ratio are kind of different for each study. Notice that there are typically more women than men participating in either study. Now, this may signify that for future studies and other implications, there may need to be a focus in the sleep patterns of women and the adiposity associated with those sleep patterns. Again, though, it is something that needs a little bit more research. The first phase had, of Van Goetz's et al. 2014, had 74% female. In their second phase, they did go to 57% female. I believe they had 1,773 total. 1,000 of those participants in phase 2 were female. So I do think that Van Goetz's et al. 2014 is the weaker of the studies, but again, it does provide some good insight into the topic. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. You'll find it on the first page. Thanks.